Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Constable Danny McKinnon. I'm a Public Information Officer with the Winnipeg Police Service. Today we have one matter to release on. It's regarding a homicide investigation. On July 13th at approximately 11:47 p.m. this past Saturday, the Winnipeg Police Service were called to the 900 block of Waverley Street to a soccer complex regarding a shooting incident. Officers from the West District as well as the Tactical Support Unit attended and observed a male suffering from gunshot wounds and immediately provided emergency medical care. The victim was transported in critical condition to the hospital and pronounced deceased. The deceased victim has been identified as a 22-year-old male, Mohammed Yusuf Abdullahi of Winnipeg. Homicide unit is investigating and has determined the victim just finished playing in this soccer event when he was fatally shot. The investigators do not believe this was a random shooting and are seeking the public's assistance. There were approximately 100 spectators still on scene and present at the game, and someone may have valuable information to assist in this investigation. Anyone who observed anyone or anything that appeared suspicious, or if you have photos or videos of the event, is asked to contact the Homicide Unit at 204-986-6508, or as well you can do so anonymously through Crime Stoppers 786-TIPS or online at winnipegcrimestoppers.org. I'll take a few questions.
Danny, we say not random, are we talking an interpersonal dispute, gang organized crime? Too early to say. What do you think may have?
Too early to say what the motive was, however, not random and generally believed to be a targeted event.
And what was the reason behind, like when you mentioned targeted, what do you mean by targeted?
So the investigators are still in the very early stages. This did just happen on Saturday. As we mentioned, there was a number of potential witnesses. So there are so many pieces of evidence, perhaps video, as well as communications that have to take place. And that has not been established yet. Regarding it being targeted, very early on, the General Patrol officers spoke with a number of people on scene and established that the individual who did the shooting quickly left in a vehicle, and there was no belief of potential risk to the public at that time.
Are police looking for one suspect, multiple suspects?
It's a little bit too early to say.
But it appears there was one shooter or more than one?
We certainly believe there's one shooter. Not sure if there's any other people involved in this.
And anything about the victim, like do you have any more information on the victim? Like you've given his name and age, but anything else? Which community did they belong to? Anything about him? Anything about his background?
Well, I can tell you that he was a player in this tournament, which represented a number of different countries. I don't think I'm going to get into his particular background. I know that the community of players has put out a statement, potentially some family has as well, but that's not something I think that we would want to speak on right now.
Is anyone else injured in this shooting?
No.
So in terms of how he was, did he come out alone or was he in a group? I mean, were there bystanders nearby him when he was shot at?
So my understanding is the game ended. It was a late game. I think it ended around 11:30, and just at 11:47 is when police were called. He was just exiting through the parking lot, I imagine, with a number of other people in situ there, and the shooting occurred.
So others obviously in the area, but was he kind of, was he direct, like in a group and
So that's going to make up a lot of the evidence that the investigators are going to have to take a peek at, whether it's through video or witness statements. I can't comment on his exact proximity in terms of where he was.
So and motive aside, 'cause it sounds like it is too early, but I mean, how do detectives determine that, yes, we think this is targeted as opposed to what goes into making that determination when you don't know what led to the shooting?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. We have had other investigations that are similar in nature to this. And although we are asking for public assistance, investigators have spoken to some key pieces and key people very early on. So we're not saying we don't have any information. We certainly do have some key pieces of information that there's a very strong belief that this was not random. If it was random, this would be a very different style of messaging occurring.
I mean, that said, it not being random, I mean, this is still a well-attended
Yeah.
community event. I mean,
Yeah. Just
what's your
very
message on that?
disturbing, very concerning, isn't it? So that was the other reason we want to come up here today, is let you know that investigators have been working around the clock on this. We've spoken with the community leaders that have been involved in this event. We'll continue to speak to the victim's family on this and provide as much support as we can.
Do we know what nationality he was? Which country?
I don't have his background confirmed.
Do you know how many times he was shot?
No. So we did say in the release, he did suffer from gunshot wounds, so that would indicate more than once. But, for investigative reasons, we won't get into the specifics of his exact injuries.
And there were about 100 spectators at the game. When this incident happened at the parking lot, any idea people around him were injured, or it was just him he was targeted? I mean, is there nobody else was injured? And are there any witnesses?
Nobody else was injured. And yes, there were a number of witnesses. And that's the second really important part about this release today. It's that this event had approximately 100 spectators, which means people saw things, even though they might not realize they saw something that perhaps was a little off or suspicious. Perhaps it was with other people that were watching the venue. Perhaps it was someone in the parking lot while other people were exiting. And it's very important that if you think you have a piece of information that could be potentially helpful to investigators, to please contact this number at the homicide unit or do it anonymously. And just keep in mind, no information is too small to have checked by the investigators. It's very, very crucial that if you have something that you believe is suspicious, to please contact the investigators to assist in this.
At this point, can the police say whether the suspects were also in the game or they were just people that arrived after and waited for him outside?
And again, that's part of the investigation that I'm not going to be able to discuss.
Are you able to say whether they might be female or male?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I know I'm hedging a little bit, and I know we're asking for your help. But okay, I think it's safe to say male. But I can't get into any further details on that suspect because we really don't have a lot of detail.
And again, I know we're early stages here, but I mean, does this appear to be connected to the game or not connected? It just happened to be.
Such a good question. Thank you. I was going to talk about that as well. This event does not appear to be related to the soccer event itself or any of the participants in the event or any of the community members who were attending the event. And because of that initial information that we said we do have a little bit of, we really do believe that it's targeted and not random. Any final questions?
So again, just to be clear, motive unknown, or I mean, can't be released publicly at this point, even if you have some information, but not saying it's gang or organized crime related at this point, but targeted for sure.
Targeted, and the motive remains unknown at this time.
What are the next steps for the investigations?
The next steps are following up on tips we get from the public and working on what we have.
Are you also going to release any photo of the victim?
Of the victim?
Of the victim of the
We would never do that.
Okay.